Hi everyone, my name is Sophie Palm, and I will be making my emergency management oral presentation on the subject of liability in disaster. In emergency situations, emergency management officials must make quick, decisive choices, which usually means there's no singular correct decision, and that reality means that there will always be parties who feel they were shorted by whoever made the decision. This opens the door to liability, but it can be helped through a process called litigation mitigation, which is simply the process of involving legal counsel throughout the emergency management and planning process instead of just after the legal issue arises. The process has three main objectives: reduced exposure to legal claims, improved life safety, and enhanced property protection. The unpredictability of emergency management usually means that it's difficult to prevent damage entirely, and because of this, proving an emergency management decision maker was at fault usually involves the proving of negligence, which can be defined as the obligation of a person or group to act reasonably in any given situation. In emergency management, this usually translates to failure to plan, inadequate allocation of funding, failure to follow pre-existing disaster management policy, and also just poor decision making. Obviously, making decisions in an emergency is really difficult, and you really can't determine how it's going to pan out. Because of this, state governments and the federal government have built-in immunities for the people making those decisions. At the state level, it's very standard for governments to build in protections for leaders acting in an official capacity during an emergency. There are also Good Samaritan laws, which protect citizens and certain first responders from liability they incur when attempting to help in the immediate recovery of an emergency when they're not acting in an official capacity. For federal immunities, there are two main functions. The governmental function is just a policy that protects the federal government from liability if they were performing an essential governmental function in an official capacity when the action occurred. And there's also discretionary action, which is under the Federal Tort Claims Act, and it protects the federal government from liability if there was a choice that had to be made involving discretion, meaning there wasn't just a right and a wrong, even if that choice ended up being the wrong one. A real-life example of this is when Hurricane Katrina struck the state of Louisiana. The city of New Orleans sits below sea level, and because of this, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers created the Mississippi River Gulf outlet and levees to relegate the water coming in and out of the city. When Hurricane Katrina struck, the levees were overwhelmed, and while the water did come over the top of some of them broke, which really exacerbated the damage to the city and the property inside of the city. The property owners sued the Corps, and they won at the trial level, and over $55 million of damages were awarded. However, that decision was reversed on appeal, and it was decided that it ultimately wasn't the Corps' fault. Here are my sources. Thank you for coming to my presentation, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.